All right, guys. Part of enjoying your RC is when you got to work on it, right? So I had a little mishap with my 30.5. Funny story. This broke on this side. I had a stud break off and I couldn't get it out. So I tried to jiggle it out, and by the time I actually got it out, I had done damage. So I was like, hey, I'll see if I can putty it and still get it to hold. And by the time the putty dried out, I got so frustrated with the head that I just broke this side off. But this basically is what happened right here on this side. On the back end, it had broken off because I couldn't get that stud out. And this is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you some options here, and you can make your own decision as to what you want to do. But on this table, I have 3 different pipes, all made specifically for this platform, the Rampage MT. We have the Olamite unsilenced pipe. They do make a silenced version. We also have the Jet Pro. This is a version that can be silenced, but they do actually make another form of Jet Pro that comes off the back of the truck and sticks out the back, which to me is just a dangerous situation when you got your pipe sticking out of the back of your truck. But that's a whole nother story. This is going to be the DDM Dominator. Now, the thing that's common about these 2 pipes is they both need this little extension here to fit the motor well. Little heat sink that you put on. So that's something to note. Now, I'm going to go through each pipe and talk about what I do and what I don't like. So we'll start here with the Olamite pipe. Now, the cool thing about this pipe, and by the way, it doesn't come black. Obviously, I had that Cerakoted, so that was me getting that done. But it's a coupler system, and it does have some give right here. So it can deal well with flex, because these RCs love to flex. Now I'm going to mock it up a little bit just so you can see it kind of, well, of course, that goes behind the pipe. Let me see. So yeah, it kind of sits on the truck like that. Now, the good thing about this is it's totally out of the way. And when you put a body on, the only thing you really see sticking out is this part. So you don't really have to do any kind of modification to the truck to add this on. And of course, what they do is they give you longer screws. If you can see up front right here. So I just put the longer screws through. I put this piece onto the screws and of course latch it down right here. And it just sits on the truck like that nicely. Now, the good thing about this pipe is it's definitely a high-end pipe. This pipe makes great power on the high end, decent power mid-range. When you get to the bottom, for my taste, it gets a little soft, but once you get going, it's a great pipe. Now I'm running with I want to say 8,000 RPM clutch. So I could bump it up a little more if I wanted to get more power out of this off the line. But I like to do slow movements as well sometimes, not just run open wide. So I need that engine to be able to get a little slow torque for climbing purposes. So for me, I like to stick with the 8,000 RPM clutch. So for me, for this pipe, I would give it a 10 on top end. Mid-range, I would probably give it a 6.5, maybe 7. Bottom end, I would probably give it 4.5 is what I would give it on bottom end. It is the flange only. You don't need no extension on the flange, and it is a step up pipe. You can see right there where it's stepped up. I did have to replace this spring. It did break on me. I just bought an aftermarket spring. It's fine. And the way it sits on the vehicle, aesthetic wise, I give it a 10. To me, this is the best for a look on the truck, as far as putting on a shell, not having to modify the shell, not being in the way, and not putting any stress points really on the engine versus the frame of the truck. And therefore, it does not create this scenario where you end up breaking studs. But that's a whole nother conversation that we're getting to. So this is going to be the Jet Pro. Now, they make a Jet Pro that comes off the back of the truck. Personally, like I said in another video, I'm not a fan of anything that comes out the back of my truck, because sometimes I manage to get this thing to wheelie. Other times I jump it and I just don't want that protruding because I feel like it could go very bad. As you see, it's chambered up. It steps up here, and it steps up here again. The exhaust is a straight back exhaust. I'm not really sure if I'm a big fan of that, but it has its purpose. Now, here's what I like about this. This is something that I kind of made. They did send me a brace with it, but I ended up breaking it jumping. So I just made my own. Of course, this part right here has nothing to do with this. I just put it on so everything doesn't slide off. But basically what happens is, if you look up in here, there's a little hole in the base of your engine. And this bracket, I have it on backwards because normally this top black piece would be like this. And it literally sits, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little scar there where it kind of sits over that this way. And it kind of goes into your motor like this. But this piece would be on the inside coming out. This top black piece right here. And when you put on the pipe, which, by the way, when you put on the pipe, you do have to use that extension, right? It's going to sit like this. I'm going to try to see if I can get it to stay. I might not be able to. Yep, I can get it to stay. So something like that. The good thing about this is it's totally out of the way. If there's any flex in the body, you don't get stress points back here at your motor because this is attached to the motor, not the frame. So when your frame bends, it doesn't pull on a pipe. So I think that's an ingenious way to set up a pipe for this thing, because as you all know, when you take big jumps and you have these flat RC bottoms like this open buggy style truck, it tends to want to flex a lot. So that's just good to have. Now here's, in my personal opinion, the best benefit of this pipe. You can shut it up if you want to. Calm it down a little bit just by adding this on. If you look at the back of the truck right there, there's this little flange that comes off and it just goes underneath that screw on the back right there, and it sits off the back of the truck like that. Perfect positioning. You just put the coupler on and there you go. You got a silence pipe. You don't want to silence, you take it off. I love having that option. Now, let's rate this pipe. I'd have to say that this is on aesthetics, I'm gonna give it a 4.5, just because this is weird to me. And I get it, when you're doing the silencer, but when you're not, it's just such a weird position to be in. Now, it doesn't get the back of the truck dirty, believe it or not. It just kind of throws the smoke through this open area here. So, I mean, it's not bad. It just looks a little weird to me, but no big deal, right? I almost got to say, they do have another pipe like this that it's for the buggy. This is for the truck, because the buggy version is just like this, but it has a close end that's sharp and pointed instead of this hollowed out end that kind of closes on the inside of the pipe. Why? Because the shorter the pipe is, the more bottom end you get. The longer the pipe is, the more top end you get. Is my understanding of it. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. So, like I said, 4.5, somewhere in there. When it comes to looks on this Jet Pro, performance-wise, on the top, I want to give it, I'd have to say a 9, maybe an 8.5 or 9, somewhere in that range, depending on my tone. It gives me very decent top. Mid-range, I want to give it a 7.5. It's got great mid-range grunt. Could barely get that out. Great mid-range grunt. And the bottom, I want to give it about a 5.5. It's got a strong bottom, guys. And now, of course, with that 5.5, I don't have the silencer on. If I put the silencer on, you're knocking it down probably at about a 4.5, because it does pull a little off the bottom with the silencer. But without the silencer, it's a great torquey machine. I like it because it doesn't put stress on that particular part that I broke and I had to buy a whole new top end, which, by the way, this is the first time I've had to replace this top end. And I don't know, man. I bought this truck so long ago, I forgot when I bought it, but I would say it's been a long time that this motor has ran very well, and it still runs good. I mean, it was fine, just, you can't attach an exhaust to it. So, that's frustrating. But whatever, my top end is rebuilt. We're good. So just keep it moving. Now, so that's enough of the Jet Pro. Let's talk about the DDM Dominator. Now, there's a reason I'm doing the DDM Dominator last. Personally, I think this is an amazing bottom end pipe. As a matter of fact, when it comes to bottom end, I give this a 10. It beats both of these when it comes to bottom end grunt and power. Mid range, I give it like a 7. And that's really good mid range. It's really good. Top, I want to give it about maybe a 7.5 or a 7 3/4. It's not really made for top. It's made for bottom, but the grunt on this thing is sick. All right. I love the stinger out the side. I think if you can't have a stinger hanging off the truck like that, there's no better way than to have a stinger like this. Now, this pipe, I do have some reservations with this pipe. And we're going to get into that in a second. Now, you see it is chambered. And, I mean, it looks good to me. Look-wise, I give this pipe probably about a 7, 7.5. I really like the way it looks. Now, as you see, I have the spots down here. I have the holes closed up. But it basically mounts directly to your chassis, so you do have to modify the chassis. And it sits on the side of the truck like this. And it's stout. It doesn't move. Once you mount this thing, you can literally pick the truck up from here, and it doesn't move. Okay, so bottom end, I give this a 10 on the bottom. Definitely, because there's no better bottom pipe than this. But, and this pains me to say, but this pipe is the reason that this happened. Now I'm gonna explain it to you guys. So this pipe is mounted so firmly and so well, right, that when you mount this up and you're running hard and you're jumping and stuff and your chassis bends, it puts an immense amount of stress. I just had a text come up. That's why I said amount. That's funny. A tremendous amount of stress on this particular side of the motor, because when it's sitting in there, right? So let me kind of show you. When you have the pipe and it's sitting like this, and you got this in here, and your pipe doesn't move, but your motor, every time you kick it, wants to boom, boom, boom from the torque. And then you have to also think when you jump and your motor's torquing and your frame is moving, it puts crazy stress on those two bolts. That's why I had to get a whole new top end, guys, because I was running this truck like this, and I jumped it a couple of times, and all of a sudden I lost my tune. I was like, why did I lose my tune? So I'm running it, I'm trying to tune it, and I'm like, I've been doing this for a while, so what's the problem? I know I can tune. And I started, pulling on stuff and trying to see if anything was loose, and I couldn't figure it out because it didn't feel loose. And so I got it in the house, and I took a flashlight and I started really looking at the truck, and then I saw there was a whole bunch of oil on this side. And I was like, why is there oil on this side? Now, mind you, that is so snug and tight in there, and this is so firm that when I was pulling on it, nothing was moving. But when I took the flashlight and I stuck it back here on the motor, you can see I have my hole closed up because I haven't mounted it yet. There was oil all down on this side. And I was like, why is there oil down there? And I realized that the whole stud had broken because of the stress of jumping this thing with this pipe. Now, again, one of my favorite pipes, but I don't know. In good conscience, do I really want to have to buy a whole nother $200 top end because I'm breaking my motor because I'm running hard? Now, if you're not jumping this thing and doing crazy stuff, and I never do that on camera, guys, because I don't want to destroy my truck, so I try to pay attention when I'm jumping it. But when I'm doing that, I definitely don't want this pulling on my motor. So for right now, I'm still keeping it, and it is what it is. I'm setting it to the side. But I'm probably going to go with this and mount this up because I feel like this is the best bottom end. This is the best mid-range with great bottom and decent top. This is the best top, decent, okay mid-range, no real bottom for me. So I'm going to hook this up. And I wanted to put this out there because I know a lot of guys are looking at different pipes for the Rampage MT, and they're like, What are these pipes like? I can give you my experience because I have all three, and I can compare all three based on my experience. So I just wanted to put this out there before I go ahead and put the pipe on and tell you guys that even when you're wrenching, enjoy your RC.